Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, helping you navigate home care and senior residences.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Matt Delvecchio, specializing in home care, downsizing in the senior living industry. We've got a great show lined up for you today. Coming up on the first half, cancer support and resources for young children, as well as older adults, have advanced tremendously over the years. But there remains a gap in resources when it comes to adolescents and young adults. We have an inspiring couple that has chosen to make a difference after experiencing firsthand the challenges their daughter faced after battling and eventually succumbing to cancer. And on the second half of the show, many people are passionate about their pets. Well, like humans, pets age. Who would have known that services are developing to help pet owners and their pets as they age? Quality of life assessments, hospice and palliative care plans, and in-home euthanasia are all becoming more and more popular. We're going to hear from Quebec's only certified hospice and palliative care veterinarian who will talk about the growing demand for elder care planning for our pets. That's coming up after the 4:30 news. All right. I cannot imagine having to lose your child to cancer. Jackie Aziz passed away at the tender age of 23 years old to a rare form of cancer. Her parents, Randy and Lynn, went through this unimaginable experience. And what they saw was a gaping hole when it came to resources and support for adolescents and young adults that are fighting cancer. Well, Jackie's legacy lives on with their tireless efforts of the parents to make a difference in the lives of future cancer patients and their parents. Well, I have Lynn and Randy Aziz in studio with me. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Thanks, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming in here. It's such a wonderful story that you're about to share. And first of all, I want to express my sincere condolences on the passing of your daughter, Jackie.
Thank you very much.
Lynn, let's start with you. Can you tell us about Jackie growing up?
Well, Jackie was the youngest of our three children. She was very social, and she was a very authentic person. She spoke her mind, and she was very comfortable in her skin. And she was the type of person that would command attention. If you're sitting at the table with all her close group of cousins or friends, she would be the storyteller, or she would be sharing her perspectives on life.
She was also, Matt, she loved family. She was very close to her family on both sides, and loved to travel, and also very, very well organized. Unusual for a younger person to be so organized. I remember we took some trips together, and she would be packed like a week in advance, and all set up. Her bag would be by her bed, and she was so anxious to go and have that adventure. She loved adventure, so she was special. It was very special.
And she had that sense of compassion and empathy. I think you were explaining on one of these trips where she even stopped someone on the side to help out, and this was who she was,
Yes.
a compassionate person, wasn't it?
Yes, she was. She loved helping others. She was. I think at 5 years old, she wanted to have a lemonade stand to raise money for Sarah Cook's Fund at the Children's Hospital, and she was. As a camp counselor at 16, she stood in line because one of her little campers needed to have a bone marrow transplant. So she wanted to be one of those donors. She stood in line to see if she was compatible. She on one of her we were in Toronto for a clinical trial, and she stopped on the way. We were waiting for her, Randy and I, and she stopped on the way to the hospital with a friend of hers, just to walk in the Women's March. They made these big plaques, and they walked, and those things meant a lot to her. These social issues, and she. Those were important to her.
She stood for a lot of causes at
She
the
did.
time,
She did.
And just think it's amazing because she's so young at this time, a teen, and then at 18 she was diagnosed with cancer. So this is probably how long ago now? This is
2013.
13.
Yes.
Diagnosed at 18. What type of cancer was she diagnosed with?
She was diagnosed with an undifferentiated soft tissue sarcoma. Sarcoma has over 60 subtypes, and hers did not fit into any of those subtypes, but that just tells you how rare it was. But they did treat it as a sarcoma. And she was diagnosed with an undifferentiated soft tissue sarcoma. Sarcoma has over 60 subtypes, and hers did not fit into any of those subtypes, but that just tells you how rare it was. But they did treat it as a sarcoma. And she was diagnosed with an undifferentiated soft tissue sarcoma.
And it's a very rare form of cancer, from what I understand.
Correct. Yes.
Which, as we'll probably be talking about, rare cancers for adolescents and young adults are more popular than traditional. Listening to Life Unrehearsed, Matt Del Vecchio here, and I'm talking with Lynn and Randy Aziz. Their daughter Jackie died at the age of 23 from a rare form of cancer, and they're honoring Jackie's legacy by better supporting the unique needs of adolescents and young adults. And so, can you describe, I can't imagine as a parent, 18, you get this diagnosis, parents, Jackie, everyone is worried. What were those next few years like after the diagnosis?
Well, I can tell you that the toughest, at the time, the toughest thing we ever had to do was tell Jackie that she had cancer. And in effect, what happened was they took a biopsy of her hip. She had a lump on her hip, and at the time they took weeks and weeks before they could come to an answer. We didn't have an answer for 8 weeks, and then finally they told us that it was cancer and it was a sarcoma. They had to actually send the pathology to Boston. It was that rare. They couldn't diagnose it here in Montreal. So when we found out, Lynn and I brought Jackie up to our bedroom, and we sat her on the bed, and Lynn started the conversation, but Jackie wasn't getting it. So I pulled Lynn out of the room. I said, I think we have to be really direct here. And it was so difficult. We had to stay strong because we didn't want to break down in front of her. And eventually we did tell her. And at 18 years old, you're not expecting to hear that. And she almost didn't grasp it at the time, because all she was arguing with us, as kids will do, because she wanted to go up north and visit her boyfriend. But, we were trying to tell her that something's wrong here. And it was a very, very difficult, as you can imagine, a very difficult conversation. So,
and then, can't imagine those conversations, and as parents even, having to even have those discussions and difficult conversations. So she had to go through treatments. This is rare. There's a lot of things going on, I'm sure, through your minds. And how did those next few years go?
So one thing I want to mention too is that she was misdiagnosed at first. And that's really something I want to get across to our audience, because so many times this adolescent young adult age group, which is from 15 to 39-year-old patients, are misdiagnosed, or there's late diagnosis, which of course leads to cancer that has progressed. And in Jackie's case, we sat with a dermatologist and we asked her, Jackie asked her, could this be cancer, this little lump on her hip? And the doctor told her, no, it's not cancer, nor will it ever become cancerous. So when we got those results, we were quite shocked, as you can imagine. Early on, we did some genomic testing to learn more about the tumor. It didn't reveal that much, but after 4 years, when we were told there was nothing else to offer, we insisted on trying immunotherapy.
Clinical trials in Toronto.
Yeah, she had 7. First, with sarcoma, you usually start off with surgeries. She had many surgeries and many relapses, so a lot of procedures, 7 treatments, including the chemo, radiation, clinical trial, and immunotherapy. When we were referred to the new oncologist, he was quite amazing. This was at year 4, and he immediately redid the genomic testing and found a marker that matched a targetable drug. And Jackie almost died at year 4 mark, but she was able to get well enough to take this targetable drug, and that gave her an extra year of life. It worked for about 5 months, and then it stopped working. But we're grateful for this year. It wasn't enough, but we're grateful for that extra year that she had. And she died when she was 23 years old.
23. In 2019, I think.
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Okay. Talking with Lynn and Randy Aziz about a rare cancer of her daughter, Jackie, passing at 23 years old. We do have to head out to traffic it, but one of the big reasons why you're here, and really hats off to you for the courage to being here, and you want Jackie's legacy to live on, because you saw a gap in the healthcare field. If you're young children at the Montreal Children's, there's a lot of resources, obviously, as you age as an older adult, but as a young adult or an adolescent, which is referred to as AYA, you saw it firsthand, this gap in resources and support, and you chose to make a difference for Jackie's legacy to live on. So we're going to hear about some of those gaps, some of the challenges you had, and what you've done to make a difference.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, helping you navigate home care and senior residences.
And welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Delvecchio here, and I'm talking to Randy and Lynn Aziz. Their daughter, Jackie, died at the age of 23 years old to a rare form of cancer. They're honoring Jackie's legacy by better supporting the unique needs of adolescents and young adults, cancer patients. All right, Lynn and Randy, just before we went to traffic, we talked about what you experienced firsthand in the real lack of resources and support for adolescents and young adults. Can you explain some of the challenges that you witnessed?
Sure, yes. There are terms like the AYA gap or the in-between population because this age group, 15 to 39-year-old, they don't fit neatly into the pediatric hospitals, and nor do they fit neatly into the adult hospitals. So like Jackie, she was 18 when she was diagnosed. She was the youngest person in the adult hospital, and she spent a lot of time there, and she found it hard to relate to many of the older patients. There's also a gap in care for patients that transition. That wasn't her case, but it is an issue for this age group who are diagnosed on the pediatric side and have to transition to the adult hospitals, and these patients often fall through the cracks. So the same thing could be for the biology of the tumor of these patients. So you can have a 20 or 30-year-old cancer patient, but the biology of their cancer may be pediatric, and if this adult patient is treated on the pediatric side with pediatric protocols, the outcome is better. But because of lack of collaboration between the pediatric and adult hospitals, this often does not happen.
And then I guess, throw in the needs, just thinking of a teenager, 18, 19, and the whole social aspect and fertility and worrying about all these things. These are issues
Absolutely.
that need to be brought up that weren't really being brought up. And so hats off to you. You decided to really make a difference, and you created the Jackie Aziz Adolescent and Young Adult Program at Cedars. Randy, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we decided at the time we had to go to the hospital. We had received quite a bit of money when Jackie passed away because we asked that they contribute to the Jackie Aziz Legacy Fund. And at the time, your head's spinning. You've just lost your child. It's an awful time to go through, and you don't know what to do. But when we took the time to think about the money that came in, we went to the hospital and we said, listen, we want to do something towards AYA, adolescent young adults, and they said, well, you need a certain amount of money to have a named fund, and it has to be you have to attain up to $2 million they have to know that you're going to get $2 million into the fund in order for you to be allowed to name it. So they had confidence that we'd be able to do that, and that started us on our journey. And then the next thing was to find the doctor, and we found the doctor, Dr. Rami Saleh, to lead the program, along with Virginia Lee, who's the nurse, the head nurse, and we also now have made 2 hires, a nurse navigator and a clinical research associate. So all that was made possible by the generous donations that came in from really mostly friends. I mean, this is not corporate. This is a grassroots type of fund here that people were so generous. And I must tell you, Matt, we have not solicited one donation. People that have just heard the story have been so extremely generous. It's beyond imaginable how they've come through. And I think they're so empathetic towards us, what we went through, because, Jackie was ill for 5 years, in and out of hospitals. And I think everybody sort of suffered along with us to some extent, all our family and close friends. So I think everybody feels sort of somewhat connected. And that's where, and they're showing their love and support by helping us. And in turn, we're turning it around and trying to do something to give back to all those unfortunate young adults and adolescents that are experiencing this. So,
amazing. Listening to Life Unrehearsed, Matt Del Vecchio here. That's Randy Aziz. He's in studio with me with his wife, Lynn Aziz. They lost their daughter to a rare form of cancer at the age of 23 years old and making a difference with what you just heard about and the Jackie Aziz Adolescent and Young Adult Program at Cedars. And Lynn, Randy was mentioning, to raise that money, it's to a point now where you're able to hire. You've got 2 dedicated positions.
Yes.
Very quickly, one of them is a clinical research coordinator. What does the clinical research coordinator do?
The clinical research coordinator is now working with both the adult and the children's research teams to ensure awareness of available trials and to ensure maximum visibility and access. Collaboration between the 2 hospitals is key, and we met actually last week with the team, a couple of weeks ago with the team, and we were just so struck by what has already taken place.
It must have been special seeing them, that, and of course the nurse navigator as well. And it must have been special to see, okay, you have the dream, you've made it happen, worked hard at it, you've got some wonderful donations, and now you actually see 2 employees dedicated to this. And so what does the nurse navigator do?
The nurse navigator will offer personalized support, education, and services throughout the trajectory of the young adult cancer experience. So from diagnosis to treatment, survivorship, and where needed, if needed, end-of-life care. So navigating cancer, and our healthcare system is overwhelming. So we wanted to start the program from here, and it will grow. And as we listen closely to the voices of young patients and the medical people who take care of them.
Wonderful. And I think not just the patients, but of course their parents well, right?
Of
And it gives them peace of mind. Randy, we have just a little bit of time left, but in our little pre-interview, I had asked you, anything else you want to cover? And you jumped up right away, say, Matt, I really do have to mention, you talked about it briefly, about the how many people so generously stepped up through the years. So can you tell us about your thoughts about the importance of friends and community in difficult times?
Well, for sure, Matt. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are here talking to you if we didn't have the support of close friends and family. And, we had the Sarah Cook Fund from the Cedars Cancer Foundation. They had their 20th anniversary last year, and I got a call from Norman Cook, Sarah's father, and he said, listen, we want to raise $1 million, and we want to give you half of that. So that was huge. That really set us on our way to really make a difference. And then we've had I have a close family friend that I grew up with. He said he would cover one of the hires, and he gave us that commitment 2 years ago. So we knew we were on our way, and that without these types of commitments, we could never do what we're doing. So that got us started, and the ball got rolling, and then we've had the article came out in the Gazette a couple of weeks ago with Susan Schwartz. We've had people give just from that article alone, and as I said, we haven't had to solicit any donations. So this is phenomenal. So not that we'll be out there soliciting for sure, but it's been amazing, just to see some of these people step up and really want to help.
That was amazing. A great article by Susan Schwartz as well as just excellent.
Great.
Okay, we got to wrap it up real quick. However, you've got a big inaugural golf tournament tomorrow at Arundel. Can you tell us a little bit how that's shaping up?
It's great. We're actually sold out for the golf. We're 18 holes at Arundel. John Moore has been so gracious to donate his golf course, and we have 112 people playing, and we have about 130 for dinner. So that's taking place tomorrow. And I must say that a close family friend, Mike Pierce, came to us and with the idea, and we wish we weren't ready last year, but now we're ready. And him and his team have made it work. They've got a nice committee going. So
well, I'm glad you mentioned and gave shout out to Mike. Great guy, doing a lot of work behind the scenes for a great cause. Well, thank you both very, very much for really having the courage to come on live radio here to talk about this. How can people donate to Jackie Aziz Legacy Fund?
They can go to cedars.ca and click on funds, the top right-hand corner, and scroll down to Jackie Aziz Legacy Fund. And all the proceeds are going directly to this AYA program, Jackie Aziz AYA Program.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you, Lynn and Randy Aziz, for coming in.
Thanks so much
for
having
Matt.
us.
Thanks. Enjoyed being here.
Thank you. Next up on Life Unrehearsed, Pet owners are passionate. Well, as pets age, not only is it difficult for the pet, but it's the pet owners that can be struggling as well. There's a trend in elder care for pets, including hospice and palliative care plans, in-home euthanasia. We're going to hear from Quebec's first and only certified hospice and palliative care veterinarian,